Okay, y'all, I'm going to give this a second and make sure it's going live the way I want it to. Kind of double check on my phone since I'm doing it through a different application so I can share some screen pics with you in a minute. So Jennifer Weissman with Benchmark coming to you from Middle Tennessee, the Nashville area. And I'm going to talk about something that realtors talk about and quite frankly, crab about. That's a polite way of saying it. I'm editing it for Facebook about a lot. And that is buyers who have not gone through a pre-approval process. Some haven't even talked to a lender to get pre-qualified. But you really need to be pre-approved. And this is not even just in these crazy times that we're in. And as a seller, your agent needs to be asking the buyer's agent who's submitted an offer on your property, they need to be asking for a pre-approval letter before you counter it or accept it. And they need to be talking to that lender. So we're going to talk about today, like why you need to do that and why it's important. I'm going to share a really quick screenshot. I'm going to share another one in a minute, but I want to share with this first one here. So, okay, we're actually going to look at the page ahead here. So when I meet with people who are interested in buying a home, I may take them out to see a home first, but usually I'm not going to do that until we've had like an hour-long discussion, either in person or through a Zoom meeting or whatever. This is kind of the buying process in Tennessee and how it works with me. So the first thing you do is you meet with me. The second thing you do is you do a buyer's representation agreement, a buyer's exclusive agency agreement. And I give you a form that explains what that is and working with a real estate agent and why you need to do that. I'll talk about that on a different live someday. And then you talk with a lender before you go through the rest. But the reason you do it at that point is to determine your purchasing power with a pre-approval, or if you've got cash funds, you know, a good agent who's going to take you out showing homes is going to ask for some kind of proof of funds of that too. And from there, we're going to be able to analyze your needs and wants. So I'm going to pop this off again for a minute. So why would we want to do that? Let's say that you're ready to buy a home and you've been looking at online sites and you're looking at the ones you want and you're so excited and you think that maybe you can go out and spend $325,000. So you get ready to go out, you find a house, maybe because the agent that you were working with wasn't me, shame on you. And you're ready to put this offer in, and then you find out that you can't do it because your income to debt ratio is off, or maybe you were self-employed or what have you. There's just a reason that you can't go to 325. And you can't even go to 320 to maybe make an offer on that house that maybe is a little overpriced, although truly most houses are rarely accurate to pricing. And that's another thing their agent needs to do. But let's say that you really need to be around 310 or 315. Now you've seen this house that you thought was everything that you ever wanted, and every other house you're going to see is going to compare to it. And there's a reason that houses are priced the way they are, due to their location, due to their size, due to the amenities that they have to offer. And so to find another one that's 10, 15, 20,000 less is not going to most likely be easy, that has all those checkbox marked. Conversely, let's say that you think that you can spend $275,000. And that's really what you want to spend. So when I ask you to talk to a lender, I'm going to ask you to find out what you're pre-approved for, and then what your bullseye, I'd like to have a mortgage payment that's X amount, what that house value is. So when you go and do that, let's say that you thought that you were 275, or you told me that you were 275 and you knew that you were 280 or 285, and you're getting frustrated because you can't find what you want. And if you had just known that you could spend that extra 5,000, you could reach the home that had more of the needs and wants that were critical to you. And the lender can break that down for you. I know in the past that it was roughly a $5 per every $1,000 of additional mortgage. So if you were spending 5,000, it was an extra $25 a month. So you would be able to decide if those were the accurate numbers that you had got from your lender in the current, would it be worth it for you to spend that extra money and not be frustrated and find the house you want? So it's really important to get that pre-approval so we can know where you need to be looking and shopping. The other thing in Tennessee and in other states that I know of too, but certainly in Tennessee, when we write the contract, we have to be able to tell them, the seller, what kind of loan you're getting. I need to know as an agent, do you need to have closing cost assistance from the seller? Or is it something that you just want? Or is it something that you don't even want to ask for and don't need to ask for? All of those things are questions that are answered from the lenders looking at your information. I want to talk for a minute too about the difference between a pre-qualification and a pre-approval. Pre-qualification is I call up and I'm like, hey, I'd like to buy this house. And the lender's like, all right, that's cool. I'd love to give you a loan. We can, both get what we want here. Tell me, how much do you make? And I say, oh, I make 100,000. And they're like, that's fantastic. What's your, what's your credit card situation? What's your debt situation? Oh, I've got a car loan and I've got a couple credit cards. And they're like, all right, well, with this and this, anyone else on the loan? Okay, we should be good to go here. And you haven't mentioned your student loan that was in deferment because you don't think about it because it's in deferment. Or you didn't know that there's something on your credit that was maybe your ex's and it's showing up on your credit and it needs to get done. You didn't know that when you said you make 100,000, your tax accountant had actually, you weren't paying attention when you signed off and trusted them to do whatever, but they had, instead of claiming, they claimed additional deductions because your instructions to them were, I want to pay as little as possible. I want to get all the deductions that I can legally do. And so then your income is different. So your lender, if they're doing what they need to do, and the lenders that I work with do this, they're going to pull your credit. It's a hard hit, but it's an explicable hit. It's not like you're going to 500 buy here, pay here car lots, opening up store credit cards. You can look at 2 and 3 of them and they know that, okay, Jennifer's looking for a house. She's shopping for a mortgage. She's looking at rates. So it's an explicable pull on your credit. So they're going to pull your credit. They're going to see things that are on there. They're going to look at a full month of pay. If you're furloughed, even if you're making your full pay or very close to it, you're not going to be able to get a loan right now. You're going to need to wait until you're back to work because they're going to do a verification of employment at the beginning and then up to and including day of close. And some lenders were doing it after close because of everything that's going on. So they're going to look at a month's worth of income. And that's the other thing too. What if you are an hourly employee and there was a move in office or you had taken some time off that wasn't paid time off, so your income was a little bit lower then? You need to have all these things in mind, and the lender needs to know if, hey, you really do usually make 37 hours a week because that's your full time, or if you're really a 40-hour, or if you're usually getting overtime. They need to look at all of those things, and they also need to look at 2 years of tax returns. So I'll maybe bring a lender on to talk with you guys about some of the things they look for on that. But it's really important to get fully underwritten, pre-approved before you go out and look for houses so that we know what you're looking for. If you're a VA loan, an FHA loan, a USDA loan, we need to look at the house too to make sure that there aren't going to be any appraisal required repairs. And they're all pretty much the same. I know there's VA loans have like a bad rap about, oh, you're going to be asked to do 500 million appraisal repairs, and that's not necessarily the case. You have to know what you're going into, but FHA and USDA will have those same kind of background checks, like peeling paint. They're not going to be happy with it if the appraiser sees it. Evidence of potential water intrusion, they're not going to be happy with that. Don't go up 3 stairs without a handrail either, because they really don't like that option. So in all seriousness, that's really important for you. Then really quick with the buyers, and I'm going to switch to something for the sellers, but let me share another screen with you. From the time that you start thinking, hey, I want to buy a house, even if it's a year out, you really should not be doing anything with your credit, opening, closing, consolidating credit cards or any of that without talking to your lender, because there are things that you can do that you don't think are going to have an impact that really are. And if you do them up to 60 days ahead of when you're starting to contract, they really could mess you up. And for God's sakes, don't do it in the middle of a contract. So I have this slide up in my buyer's presentation. It's not necessarily a walk in the park. I jokingly say that getting a mortgage can sometimes feel like a proctology exam, but they're not asking you for things just for grins and just to kill time. They're busy. They're asking for things because they're loaning you a considerable amount of money, and they have to make sure that they're not doing you or the bank a disservice in lending that to you. So we don't want to make this American Ninja Warriors. So don't do things with your credit, and also be careful about shifting money between bank accounts when you're getting ready to buy a house too. Basically, all I can say is stop with finance things before you're talking to a lender, and don't make any assumptions. If you are a lawyer, I'm not going to assume that I know more than you if you're taking me to represent me in a court action. I'm relying on you as a professional who knows what you're doing, and you need to have lenders and realtors that you can rely on in the buying and the selling process. So why is this important to sellers too? It's always been important, but it's critically important right now that when you have a listing, you're listing your house and you've received an offer, you need to have a pre-approval letter with that offer. And if the buyer's agent hasn't done that, then your agent should call that agent up and say, hey, can we get one? Then your agent should pick up the phone and call that lender and say, hi, I'd like to talk to you about Mr. and Mrs. Smith's pre-approval. What have you done to obtain that pre-approval? Because they're interested in buying my client's house at 123 Main Street. Have you seen a month of income? Have you verified that they're currently employed, that nothing has changed in the last week or two or month with the COVID stuff? Have you looked at their credit report? Have you seen the two tax returns to see what's going on there? So when you have somebody who's asked those questions as your listing agent, you are not 100% assured, because nothing is assured in life, but you have a much more solid chance of not having your house come out of contract based on finance. And, you know, Middle Tennessee, I'll share the numbers here in just a second. We're still moving strongly. So when houses come in and out of market, the buyer's always asking why. And oftentimes they're thinking, oh, was it something with inspection? That's the number one thing that people assume. But it's often with finance, if the agents on both sides have not done their due diligence, making sure that that buyer is ready and that the type of loan they're looking to get is applicable for that house. I sold a house that was built in 1920 this fall. Beautiful house, fantastic condition, but somewhere in the last 100 years, somebody had painted the windows shut. There's no egress from the bedrooms. That is not going to go anything but a conventional loan or cash. We could have cut the paint on them, but we had no idea if the rope system behind there was still good. And my seller was not willing to be in a position to potentially have massive window repairs. We disclosed that, hey, these windows don't open. We don't know what's going on behind. We're looking at a cash or conventional offer. And that's what we ended up doing, because it was looking out for the best interest of both parties. You also wouldn't want to be a buyer who's moving forward on a house. You've done your inspection, paid, $400 or $500. You've paid for your appraisal, another $400 or $500. You've likely done your termite inspection, another $50. And then you get back that the windows are painted shut, and terms of appraisal that they have to open, and the seller's not in a position or willing to do that. So you don't want to get yourself into those kinds of sticky situations. So that's my little thing. You don't hear it a lot, but a lot of realtors are like, I don't know why somebody wants to get in the car with me and go see houses when they're not pre-approved. And sometimes they'll say it like, why am I going to spend 3 or 4 hours going to show somebody houses when they can't spend 15 to 20 minutes getting pre-approved with a lender? But it's true. I love seeing houses. I try and see at least 10 a week, even during this, so that I can keep up to a date with what's going on in the market. But I don't want to put you in a position where you have fallen in love with something that you can't get, or you're frustrated by what you think you can get and you can get more. So I'm going to share with you the market stats, and then I'm going to run away and let you guys enjoy your day. So hopefully this works the way I want it to. That's a messy screen because there's stuff behind it. But Davidson County, 421 through 428. 244 active new properties on the market, 300 went under contract, and 152 closed. Let's see if this is, there we go. Marshall County. These are all counties that I work in the Middle Tennessee area that I work in the most. Same last week here, 9 active new listings. These are only residential I'm talking about. 23 went under contract, 8 closed. Murray County, 44 new active listings. 64 went under contract, 38 closed. Rutherford County, the Murfreesboro area, MTSU, 107 new residence property went on the market. Can't speak today. 199 went under contract and 111 closed. Williamson County, 103 new active properties, 122 under contract, and 53 closed. And then Wilson County up Mount Juliet Way, 78 new active properties, 114 under contract, and 48 closed. So I'm going to stop sharing the screen. I can't see when I'm doing this way if I have any questions or messages. So if I see any of those come through, I will answer them in the comments. I also have shared those stats online on my Instagram. You can follow me at Twinnessee, and I'll put them up on my business page as well as my Facebook personal page, and you'll see them on Twitter. So until next week, which I have something exciting to talk to you about next week, but I'm not even going to tease you with what it is. I will wish you well and stay healthy, and hope to see all of you guys out and about soon. Bye.